frozen solid, eyes open but unseeing, skin like ice, a body so cold that doctors believed she was gone. But somehow, she wasn't. Somehow, a girl frozen stiff in the winter night still had a heartbeat waiting to return. This is how Jean Hilliard came back from a place no human should survive. Jean, 19 years old, a small-town Minnesota girl. Kind, lively, ordinary in every way, until the night she became extraordinary. Tsar, December 1980. A brutal winter storm hit the rural town of Lengby. Temperatures plunged to 30 degrees Celsius, the kind of cold that bites through skin and bone. Jean was driving home late after visiting a friend when her car skidded on the icy road. It slid into a ditch engine, dead heat gone. She was miles from home. No cars, no passing headlights, just endless dark. She stepped out, breath turning to white mist instantly, her eyelashes crusted with frost. She wrapped her coat tighter, but the wind cut through like knives. She knew her best chance was to walk. Her friend's house. Wally Nelson was about 2 miles away. In good weather, easy. In this storm, it was a gamble with death. Still, she started. Snow crunching, wind howling, heart racing. Halfway through her walk, the cold became a living thing. It crawled under her clothes, numbing her legs. Her fingers stiffened. Her thoughts slowed, becoming foggy. Hypothermia doesn't announce itself loudly. It sneaks in quietly, stealing warmth inch by inch. At some point, Jean's steps weakened. Her vision blurred. She couldn't feel her feet. The world tilted. She collapsed into the snow just yards from Wally's front yard. She didn't know it. But she was only a few meters from safety. Time passed. Minutes. Maybe hours. The cold wrapped her like a frozen blanket. Her body surrendered. Her heartbeat slowed. Her breath thinned. A deadly stillness settled in. When the human body drops below 35 degrees, hypothermia begins. At 30 degrees, confusion. At 25 degrees, unconsciousness. Below that, death. Jean's core temperature had fallen far lower, far past the line where survival is considered impossible. At dawn, Wally opened his door, stepping out into the pale morning light. He saw a shape in the snow. He thought it was a broken branch. But as he walked closer, the horror hit him, Jean. His friend. Curled in the snow eyes, open body, frozen stiff like a statue. Her skin was hard, her hair coated in frost, her limbs couldn't bend. She was literally frozen solid. Wally touched her face. It was like touching cold marble. For a moment he was sure she was dead, but some instinct, some hope told him to try. He lifted her rigid body legs, locked arms stiff, and carried her inside like a frozen mannequin. He called for help. Neighbors arrived, panicked. They wrapped her in blankets, though she didn't react. No movement, no sound, no warmth. When paramedics arrived, their faces said everything they had never seen a body so cold and still have a chance. One paramedic whispered, "She's gone." Another replied, "Maybe not. Not yet." At the hospital, doctors were stunned. Her skin temperature was near freezing. Her eyes were frozen open. No pulse detectable, no breath visible. One doctor said it felt like treating a block of ice. But one thing stopped them from giving up: very faint electrical activity in her heart. Not a beat more, like a flicker. A spark refusing to die. They decided to warm her slowly. No hot packs too risky. No sudden heat could cause cardiac arrest. So they wrapped her in electric heating pads, gradually raising her temperature degree by degree. Hours passed. Nothing changed. Nurses checked vitals. Still nothing. Her body remained stiff, her jaw frozen shut. But they kept warming, hoping for a miracle. Then a tremor. Tiny. Almost invisible. A twitch in her face. A slight quiver in her fingers. The medical team froze not from cold but shock. That movement meant something unthinkable life. Hypothermia can sometimes preserve the brain by slowing metabolism. As ice spread through her skin and muscles, her core had gone low enough to shut down, but not to die. The cold had nearly killed her, but it had also kept her alive. Slowly, very slowly, her heartbeat strengthened. Still faint, still fragile, but there. Nurses leaned in, listening through the stethoscope for the one sound they needed most. That soft thump, weak but real. The room filled with quiet disbelief. No one spoke loudly. It was like witnessing a resurrection. When Jean finally gasped, a soft, shaky gasp, people cried. Her lungs, frozen hours earlier, now reached for air. Her eyes blinked painfully, lids cracking as ice melted. She whispered something no one could understand. The doctor leaned close. She whispered again, barely audible, "Where am I?" That moment became the turning point. A frozen girl, clinically dead by every standard, had returned. But survival wasn't instant. Jean's body was damaged, her skin blistered, her legs were numb. Doctors feared severe frostbite tissue death amputation. They prepared her for the worst. But day after day, her body shocked them again. Her nerves woke. Her skin healed. Her muscles regained strength. Even the frostbite reversed. It was as if her body decided no, not today. By the second week, Jean stood. By the end of the month, she walked out of the hospital. No amputations, no brain damage, no permanent injuries. A human miracle witnessed in real time. Reporters called her the frozen girl. Doctors called her survival impossible. Scientists studied her case for years, calling it one of the most astonishing hypothermia recoveries ever recorded. Jean herself said something simple: "I guess God just wasn't ready for me yet." But her story reveals something deeper. The human body can endure far more than we believe. In extreme cold, metabolism slows. The brain enters a protective state. The heart, even barely beating, waits. The line between life and death becomes thin, almost invisible. Jean walked that line and returned. Today, her story stands as proof that even in the harshest conditions, even when every rule says survival is impossible, a spark inside the human body can refuse to go out. So now, a question for you. If you were frozen in darkness, heart silent, body still, what part of you would fight hardest to come back to life? Her body was frozen solid, her skin turned to ice, and for 6 long hours, her heart almost stopped. Everyone thought she was gone. No one expected a pulse, but somehow, life refused to let go. Jean Hilliard, 19 years old. A small-town Minnesota girl who knew winter better than most people. But nothing in her life prepared her for a cold that could kill in minutes. She was driving home after visiting friends, following an empty rural road swallowed by darkness. The snowstorm had been growing worse. The temperature was sinking fast. "Oh," Her tires slipped on black ice. In seconds, her car skidded off the road and into a ditch. The engine died. The doors jammed. No signal. No passing cars. Just the wind, the cold, and endless white. Jean made a choice. She stepped out and began walking toward her friend's house nearly 2 miles away. A walk she had done before. A walk she believed she could handle. But the storm had other plans. Snowflakes felt like needles hitting her skin. The 30-degree air froze her eyelashes together. Each breath burned. The cold drained her strength with every step. Muscle fibers stiffened. Blood thickened. Hypothermia didn't arrive, slowly it attacked. She started to lose feeling in her legs. She felt warmth spreading across her chest, a deadly sign. The body sometimes creates a final false warmth right before shutting down. But her mind kept fighting. Just a little farther. Please. When she finally saw the faint outline of her friend's house, her body collapsed. It wasn't a choice. It was nature taking over. Her nerves stopped responding. Her consciousness slipped. She fell face first into the snow, and the world turned black. Thaw. For 6 hours, she lay there. Temperatures so low they should have shattered her cells. Her skin froze like glass. Her limbs stiffened so hard they could not bend. But in extreme cold, something unexpected can happen. The body slows itself to near zero. Heart rate almost stops. The brain enters a protective state. Not dead, but paused. At dawn, her friend opened the door and saw a shape lying in the snow. When he recognized Jean, he thought she was a corpse. Her eyes were open but frozen. Her body felt like stone, but some instinct forced him to pick her up, load her into his truck, and rush to the hospital. He hoped, even when hope made no sense. Doctors could barely detect a heartbeat. They touched her skin colder than the metal on the hospital bed. They expected the worst. But they tried anyway, slowly warming her, carefully raising her temperature. Too fast could kill her. Too slow meant she would slip away forever. Minutes felt eternal. Minutes felt. The room was silent except for machines searching for life. And then, a tiny pulse. A spark. A rhythm. Her heart fought its way back. One beat, then another, then stronger. Hours later, Jean opened her eyes, clear, aware, alive. The doctors were stunned. No brain damage, no frostbite severe enough to lose limbs, no long-term injuries. Her survival made no medical sense. She should not have woken up. But she did, because sometimes the human body holds on even when science says it can't, and the human spirit refuses to freeze. So here's the question. If you were pushed to your absolute limit in a moment where nature decides your fate, how hard would you fight to stay alive?